Hi everyone, how you doing? Welcome back to CK Café. This is Ethan Velazar Castillo, host of CK Café. Thank you so much for listening, watching, wherever you're getting your podcasts, or if you're watching on YouTube. I really appreciate you taking some time to listen to our show. We really appreciate it and need your support to continue to grow it and continue having amazing conversations with really awesome indie creatives. And today we have a fantastic conversation with people that I hold very dear to my heart, my fellow producers of CK's first large-scale feature film, Backyard Desert. We have gotten some of our amazing producers, Juanes, Adam, and Stephanie, to hop on the show today to talk a little bit about Backyard Desert, where we're at, and more importantly, talk about the fundraising side of things and the community building side of things and what we've done that can be helpful for you as a creative who's fundraising potentially for whatever kind of project, not just a film, but a piece of theater or music project, whatever it is. We hope you can get a lot out of this episode. It's a really special one. Now, for those of you who don't know what Backyard Desert is, Backyard Desert follows a young Border Patrol agent who discovers a dying migrant in the Yuma desert, and she's forced to confront the brutal realities of her job. And Backyard Desert is a exploration of morality and identity and the invisible lines and borders that we create. It's the ones we draw between right and wrong and self and duty, and more importantly, the borders and lines that we draw between one another. And I think this film is so important right now in a time where migrants and people who are different and others are looked at in such a negative light, when for the US and for so many countries, immigrants are what have made these nations so unbelievably special. And it's incredibly sad to see how they're being treated in this country. And as a Salvadoran American whose family came over to this country, it hits very close to home and it hits very hard. And it hits hard for our producing team, who are all Latin creatives. It is so important for us to tell this story. We believe in it so much. And we've gone through so much in making this project. It started off as a play written by Nancy Irene Kelly. It has turned into a screenplay co-written by Nancy and myself. And it has just gone through so many different changes and thought processes, and our fundraising experience has been a whirlwind. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I hope you get a lot out of it, and I hope that it is informative for the projects that you are out there creating and making. And if you are interested in learning more about Backyard Desert throughout this conversation, go check us out, backyarddesert.com, or online at Backyard Desert. Thank you so much, and enjoy this amazing conversation with Juanes Montoya, Adam Del Valle, and Stephanie Colon, some of the producers of Backyard Desert. Today, I am joined by my amazing producing team for Backyard Desert, and we're here to talk about crowdfunding and about all of the hardships that kind of come with fundraising for a feature film. I am joined by three amazing people, Juanes Montoya, Adam Del Valle, and Stephanie Colon, all of which are producers on this project and are wearing multiple hats. So I'll let each of them kind of introduce themselves, what they do, how they got involved in this feature film of ours. Juanes, you want to start us off?
Sure. I am Juanes Montoya, one of the producers and actors in Backyard Desert. I joined Backyard Desert at the very beginning of its first version, which was a play in New York. And this was about almost 8 years ago now. I know Ethan because we went to acting school together, but I did not know that he was going to be in the room the first time I auditioned for the project. I've been in love with the story, with the message, and with the journey that we've been on, and here we are trying to make it happen.
Crazy. It's been so many years since this project has started, and you've been there since the inception, so it's been wild. Stephanie, do you want to introduce yourself next?
Sure. I'm Stephanie Colon. I am a producer on the film. I met Ethan because I acted in a short film he hired me for several years back, and we just clicked and we realized we love the same type of stories. And yeah, it's kind of grown since then. Been an exciting journey.
Yeah. And Mr. Adam Del Valle.
I am Adam Del Valle, producer with Backyard Desert, CK Films, Flesh Films. I came on board the project Well, I mean, I feel like it just kind of came as a natural happening from just my relationship with Ethan. We met through music, and then just as we got close, we started doing business together, whether it's at CK Studios or you approaching me to try my hand at producing with Cosquillas, our short film. And then once we just smashed that out of the park, the next project, I was just down before you even asked me.
I'm so happy to have all of you. It's been such a journey that we've been on these last few years to kind of catch everyone up to speed. Backyard Desert, like Juana said, started off as a play. And since then, we've gone through so many iterations. So it was a play, and then it became a short, which was really created to use as a promo piece for the play, in which we were trying to hopefully get an off-Broadway run or some sort of a larger run. Now the piece has kind of grown and naturally adapted into a screenplay. We wanted to find a new medium to tell this story that we felt was so important. And since doing that, Nancy Irene Kelly, the writer of the original play and my co-writer for the screenplay, we said, okay, if we're going to do this, we need the right team behind us. And we need to make sure that we are surrounding ourselves with people who believe in the story, but also believe, really more importantly, in the message that we're trying to have the story say. I think anyone who's listening to this or watching this understands the hardships of raising money and trying to get an artistic project off the ground, whether that's an album, whether that's a short film, a feature film, doesn't matter what it is. I think it's just so hard to make artistic projects this day and age. And one thing that sometimes I think you're forced to do is go into crowdfunding. It's been an interesting journey for us with fundraising and raising money for this film. And we've tried a few different avenues. I know when we first started, Stephanie and Adam, our initial goal was we just got to find that like one rich person who's just chilling, who's like, they're just going to love this damn story. It's a great story. It's important. Of course, they're going to get it. They're going to love it. And they're going to give us $1 million. And very quickly we realized, oh, that's not how this works. This is going to be much more challenging. So Stephanie, can you talk about like the start of this project and how we conceptualized our financing plan, or I guess what we wanted to do in the beginning, because I'm very interested in giving people context to how we started raising money versus where we are now, because I feel like it's two different places.
Ethan, you were putting me on the spot because we've done so many things. I don't even know if I remember what our original plan was anymore. Yeah, I mean, we didn't find someone with $1 million. I think we all said, let's look at our networks and see who we know who has money. And we didn't know someone with $1 million. At least on my end, I did feel like I was confident I had people who had money and would be supportive, and I was more confident than the reality. So that was a little tough. We're learning and we're growing. And so at least on my end, I feel like I've had more success talking to strangers. So it's been interesting, learning a lot.
You bring up such a good point. It was the initial thought process, right? It was like, okay, well, $1 million man didn't work. We didn't find that guy. We didn't find this person, but let's go after the people we do know, people who are in our network who, maybe they're just professionals. Maybe they're people who, even if they don't have this ton of disposable income, maybe they know somebody. And Adam, something you had said very early on was a word of advice that you had gotten from a colleague of yours who talked about other people's networks. Can you kind of explain that way of thinking? Because I feel like that's sort of something we've adopted and really run with as of late.
Yeah, so a lot of the advice that I was getting was like, look through your network, but really the game is looking through your network's network and your friend's friend and your friend's friend's friend, and just going through those different levels of relation until you find somebody who is able to give you what you need. It was that, and then also just people telling me to do a mix of playing the long game with people, like just keeping relationships with people that have it, keeping that relationship alive until the right time organically comes, or when you are completely prepared to approach them with something.
I think it was such good advice, and I feel like it's our mantra now, right? It's like now we're less likely to go after people and just reach out to them cold, I guess. Instead, now we're trying to talk to people and have that conversation and say, hey, who do you know that could potentially help us with this? Or who do you know that you could introduce us to that might be able to give us this resource? Even if it's not money, if it's some sort of service or partnership or legal counsel, whatever it is. It's been really something we've followed. And I feel like ever since you mentioned that to us, Adam, very early on, it's been something we've wanted to focus on. And that kind of leads me to talking about crowdfunding, right? We think about the idea of crowdfunding. I think we all kind of scoffed at it very early on. Like, oh, we're not going to start like another Kickstarter, or we're going to do a Seed and Spark campaign like every other movie. And we're going to beg everybody for $5. Like, how are we going to raise $1 million plus? And we were freaking out over that idea. I think very early on that we decided to start off with a small PayPal donate page asking friends and family to give, but we never like dove into the crowdfunding space. Now we've decided to kind of take that ownership and do it in a different way with WeFunder, which I think has been such an amazing tool for us and such a cool way to do crowdfunding, because it's like not just like donations, it's hopefully an investment of sorts where people are putting in this money into the project for some hopeful return, not just because they like us and they want to see us happy. It feels so much bigger, and it feels like they have this ownership. So in switching over now with our plan, I feel like one thing that we've done super well has been like, okay, we're not just going to focus on our network. We are going to actually lean on these people, and we're going to find the way that works best for them. And I think for filmmakers out there, it's so important to remember that not every way is going to be right for your movie. Like, just starting a Kickstarter isn't going to be the way that's going to make your movie be successful. It's not going to be the way that you're necessarily going to hit 100,000. But for other people who have that network, that might be the best possible way to utilize those people that you have. So now we have this WeFunder campaign, which we started back in the beginning of 2025. And unfortunately, I think we kind of went through this weird transitional phase where, because we're only a few people on this producing team and we all have other focuses or other things we're doing for this movie, the campaigning side of it was something that we pushed aside. And now we're sort of coming back to crowdfunding and saying, how can we involve everyone again? As we get closer to this movie, as we get closer to closing that gap, re-inviting our community to join in on this project. Everyone has seen us like promote for the last like 2 years. I'm saying, we got this movie that we're making someday. You know, I feel like now people get a chance to really be involved. So can you guys speak to, I guess, the community side of our movie and why community is so important in telling a story like this one?
So I feel like particularly with a story like this, where from jump, we were trying to have the story be a very authentic representation of Yuma, Arizona. I feel like this approach with WeFunder gives us such a wonderful opportunity to give a community like Yuma, but also just any people, the opportunity to not only get involved with our film and benefit from our film, but also very easily do so. Like, a huge thing that we talk about, whether we were on the street approaching people or even in our meetings, is investing in film is something that was kind of, at least me and the people that I've known, like, no one has really ever known investing in film. This is how you do it. This is who you speak to, and blah blah blah. It's kind of just like a,
Yeah, it's gatekeeping.
yeah,
Yeah.
word. Whereas, but a platform like WeFunder, literally anyone can be an investor. I just feel like it's really in line with that spirit and that core idea that we've had from jump, of having it really be a story about a community, true to a community.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense that part of the way that we're bringing it to life is involving that community and small
Yeah.
communities.
And told by the community. That's it. That's exactly what you want out of a movie like this.
I just want to do a PSA that actually I did have some friends give to the film, and if they see this, I don't want them to think that I wasn't acknowledging them. Just didn't go in my network the way I thought it would, but I did have some
Yes.
wonderful people give to our initial crowdfunding campaign. So if you're watching this, thank you, and I appreciate you.
I'll be honest, I feel the same way though, and I'm sure all of you guys can agree. I feel that same exact kind of struggle where so many people did contribute, and it was very kind, and they gave what they could give, and that is just so unbelievably amazing. And every dollar counts, truly, in an independent film. But I think that's something that a lot of filmmakers don't think of when you approach something like crowdfunding or fundraising at all in your network. Sure, you may think that these people would be willing to support a project of yours, but until you really go out there and try it, you don't actually know. You don't know what people are willing to give. And you can't blame them. The world is so hard right now, and there's so much going on economically and socially. And giving money, your hard-earned money to a film, it has to be really worth it. It has to be the right time. And I think that's the key. It's all about timing. It's super challenging.
I know. I also learned very early on that not everybody is willing to put, as you say, their hard-earned money into a film. There's an element where the film or the whatever artistic project has to almost align or resonate with the people that you're asking for money for a better chance of some sort of investment. So when I was going through my personal list, I started going through the people that I knew, one, were familiar with the project since it was a play, because they'll get excited. Some of them actually went and sat at the theater and saw the play and were super excited to know that it was becoming a film. But also people who could relate to the message of our film, right? Specifically, my immigrant community, my Black and brown, first generation, second generation immigrants in the US, and how today, more than ever, how important it is to have one of their stories, because there's so many stories in the immigrant community, be told in the big screen, right? I learned rather quickly that some people didn't have the means to donate, or didn't want to, or was too risky for them. So some of them decided to connect me with their network, as you said earlier. Some of them just said, I'm sorry, but I can't. And you have to go on. There's no bridges burned. You just have to keep trying every day.
I think that's such a good point. Just because someone can't give, especially to something like a crowdfunding campaign, if someone says no, I think find ways that they can get involved. And I think that that's what we're trying to do, is like say, okay, hey, you can't give. What can we do? And you brought up a great point. Your network, like Adam had said before, your network introduced us to some other amazing people that have helped this film progress. That's been our biggest wins, have come from our network being willing to say, I can't give you any money, but here's what I can do. And that has been like our biggest paths to either other financial contributions or just other great connections that have transformed what this film was when we first started this journey 3 years ago. I think you hear it all the time, and you read books or watch seminars or see people talking about it on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, saying, this is what you got to do with crowdfunding, and these are all the people you have to reach out to, and cold email these people. And I think until you actually do it, you don't really realize what that's like. But it's amazing to see how community can help in so many more ways. In context of our film, that's what we hope everyone who's interested in supporting wants to do. We're not just asking for financial contributions. We're not just asking you to make our movie happen with your hard-earned money, but we're also asking people to, hey, who do you know? Who do you know that you can introduce us to? Or, hey, do you work in this industry? We're looking for this department head. We're looking for this post person. We're shooting this movie in this state. Do you know anybody who works here, lives here, maybe can help us as a financial producer, whatever it is? So, go out there and find that community and build upon these people, as opposed to just taking that no and letting it sting a little bit, because it definitely did in the beginning. It definitely did in the beginning, when we would either hear a no, or maybe when people didn't answer.
Or how nerve-wracking it is to even ask or start the conversation, right? Like, I found myself hesitant at times. I'd be like, oh, I don't know this person really that well to be like, hey, can I get some money for my film? But then I was like, you know what? Everyone's trying. And if that is gonna damage our relationship just because I came in with an honest ask, then maybe we were not supposed to go beyond being colleagues, or like I remember thinking, what is, you're not asking for money for things that you shouldn't be asking. Like, I'm not, not to go into you're not begging. You're not
No,
begging. You're
no.
simply saying, "Hey, I have this project. I need some help. If you could, it will be great." And if that honest ask was going to damage the relationship, you know what? That was a filter for me to know that I have no room in this relationship. Thankfully, no one ever like cut me off because I said, "Can you donate to my film?"
Yeah,
I'm
good,
glad.
good. I'm glad.
It reminds me of a conversation me and Ethan had one time where when we were really going hard, sending out lots of text messages, when we were like, we're gonna send a message to everybody in our contact list. It was very much one of those like two bros, we gotta lock in conversations where we had made the point where it's like we're making it very clear to everybody in our life that these are the things that we like to do and that we are the type of people that we like to make these things happen, right? And so anybody that is like would be turned off or like would have a problem with that type of energy does not belong around us
Yeah,
because we're also the type of people that I'm not gonna waste spaces in my atmosphere with people who aren't willing to, if not contribute, at least be supportive of the motion, you know?
And this is
I think,
not to say that those who said no are not good people.
no,
We want
yeah.
to clarify that this is just
yeah,
if I like an abrupt negative reaction to us asking for help. So we love our
yeah.
network.
100%, 100%. I think as artists too, it's so easy to get caught up in the no, and that like can really do a lot of damage. But I think it's very important, like you said, Adam, to really understand what that no is, right? Because like it might be no, I can't help you financially right now, but I want to support you in one way. But if it's like no, and I hate everything you're doing and quit this now, then obviously I think like as creatives, we have to have that kind of that ability to be able to say, okay, this person does not support this creative part of me as artists, just in general. Like our art is an extension of us. So you don't support that, you're also not supporting me. So I think it is important for artists to have that mentality. But yeah, it's just scary to go to your network.
I will say
100%.
on the other side of this, after getting past that initial fear and reaching out to people, some of the people who were supportive surprised me, right? People that I wouldn't necessarily, they say I was as close to, and they were super supportive and, gave what they could give. And even if that wasn't the case, like, will ask me about the film and how are we doing and like, is there anything I can do? And maybe there is or there isn't, but I was surprised by the support that we did find. In one of my many jobs, one of my many hats, I do a little bit of a sales role. It's not my strong suit. I'm learning here. But something that they say is that never judge somebody by how they look, right? So we're talking about strangers, someone walking into, say, a store, right? You don't know if they have money. You don't know what they're here for. You don't know what they want. So, you know, just offer them what we have and you can be surprised. And so I feel like surprisingly that was the same thing in the network. It was like, you don't know who's going to be supportive. So it's
That's
just our
such a
job
good point.
to do what we got to do and move forward and ask and reach out and all of that.
You just don't know who is going to say yes. And that kind of goes for strangers, people outside of our network too. And what I find is the majority of the people we thought never in a million years are they going to open an email from us. Never in a million years are they going to respond to an email that we send or are going to want to actually do a meeting. They've done the meetings or some
Yeah.
people have answered the emails. I think it's such good advice for us to remember that don't judge a book, but also don't be afraid to go out there and reach out because you never know what can happen. Whether it's a DM on Instagram or a cold email or getting someone in your network to introduce you to someone, that is just such a wonderful way to make things happen for movies. And as we get closer and closer every day to making this film a reality, that is ringing more and more true with all of the risks and the big swings that we've been taking. It's going to continue to be that way for the rest of the time that we're making this movie, you know?
And as you say that, it just reminds me of something like I tell people all the time, like, what's the worst that can happen? Someone says no. And it's like a good reminder right now to myself is like, so they say no. So you're in the same exact spot. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, literally.
And then on the other
So
side, the
right.
best that can happen would be, the best. So you might as well try.
You're so right. Yeah, you might as well try. Like, you just literally have nothing to lose. Like, there's actually nothing to lose. And it's like, if you do it in a respectful and kind way, then there's actually nothing that could possibly happen. The worst thing that happens is they don't answer or they say no. And again, I don't think a no always means no right away. And we've been seeing that with some of the partners that are signing on to the project now. Some of these partners are people who we spoke to a year ago when the project wasn't even ready. And now they're considering us, or we're considering them. And it's different kinds of conversations that I think happen based on what we said before. Timing is so important, and circling back with people who we did not think were going to support us anymore, and then lo and behold, they've gone and supported us, whether that's from a financial standpoint or whatever. It's so interesting to see how time really does change things. And I have to remind myself every day, like, wait a minute, did you do your follow-ups? Did you go back to that one person you reached out to that responded kind of positively a year and a half ago, because they might be interested now. They might be in a better position now than ever.
I think that goes back to what Adam was saying about keeping those contacts warm and playing the long game, and not in a artificial way, like not just like I'm keeping this person around to use them, but actually building relationships with people.
Yep.
As opposed to like, okay, they said no, I'm moving on, they're of no use to me. I think relationships matter, as we see, and even if it doesn't
100%.
Even if a relationship, we don't see anything from it till the next film, that's okay. And even if it's never, maybe we're there to support them. It's important to have those genuine relationships where we're not just using people, but playing the long game as far as really being there.
Yeah, it is a long game. And it's just so funny to see that, because I think when we first started this process, on the reel, like I was so confident, and then I felt like we were taken down like 20 notches. Like that first time we went out to Arizona to scout and first see if this is where we want our film to take place and meet people and talk to investors and all the stuff we did right in the beginning of this project. My God, like when we look back at that time, I remember that feeling of being so hopeful, and then a few months later being just taken down because everybody that we reached out to said no, and we could not get a single dollar. And then I remember getting our first little bit of money, and then dry spell for the next 3 months. And it was just like, whoa, what is this? This sucks. This is not fun. But then remembering movies take a long time, and all art, a movie, a piece of theater, an album, whatever it is, art takes time, and it's going to happen when the time is right.
And also reaching out to those people that say no, and then coming out with your film for the next project. You're going to go back to them and be like, okay, back then you couldn't, but look, I did it. Like, you are a proof of your own worth and word.
Yeah.
Right? Learning to be patient. It's not a race, it's a marathon. You got to pace yourself. You got to find a way to survive. And trusting that you're going to get it done.
Yeah. And I think the last thing I will say to all of this, and to every single creative out there, don't do any of this art alone. I see so many people trying to make their movie or whatever kind of project by themselves because they think nobody wants to support them. And it just couldn't be further from the truth. And you three are like the best examples of that. And the best gift I could have ever gotten from above is getting you three to sign on to this project. And I genuinely mean it. To have you three, truly, like to have you three work so hard and care so much about this project, it means the world to me. It means the world to Nancy and to everybody on the team. But it's something that I think a lot of artists don't do. Like, they just don't go out there and say, let me find my community, let me find the people to make this movie with. And it's why I think we are going towards crowdfunding now at this stage, right? Saying, you know what, we're getting closer to making this movie, let's get everyone back, let's get all this community back, let's get our friends, let's get family, let's get people on the internet who don't know us, let's get them to join this project, let's build a movement, not just make a movie. Let's really build a movement. And I think it's so important that creatives do that, because I never could have done this alone, and I cannot do what we are about to do going forward in the next few months and years of our lives alone. It would be impossible. Just go out there and find your team. And
yeah. It takes a village, and you get to learn more. When you team up with people, you are getting their knowledge for free. In the most respectful, kind way. You learn from each other. You brainstorm together. Everyone has different backgrounds. Clearly, in our team, this is the case. So, don't do it alone. Very true. Plus, it's not fun doing it alone.
When you have a team to lean on, it's so much easier and so much more fulfilling because you're accomplishing one unified goal instead of just one goal. So it's cool.
You mentioned like there was a point where it's like you were at a high and then you were like brought down. And having a team around you, when you're in that moment where you're like, oh, losing hope, the rest of us can be there and be like, no, we've got this. Like, what can we do to support you? And you need that to make a
So
project
true.
happen. It can't just be
Yeah.
one person. There has to be different complementary skills and as well as being at different places mentally and emotionally so we can all support each other through this.
Yeah, totally. Having that team to lean on, it's so important. And it's why we want to open up the team even further and why we want to get you all who are listening involved in this project. So if you are interested in learning more about our film, please go check out our website, backyarddesert.com. You can learn about everything going on with our film, all of the updates, every single aspect of where this film currently is, and about our campaign, which we're doing on WeFunder right now. It's an opportunity for you all to be able to not just donate, but actually be involved and earn with the movie as the movie earns. So it's a really special thing. Before we go, I just thought I would ask each of you guys a fun little question, and we'll relate it to Backyard Desert. But what is a movie that you feel you can compare Backyard Desert to? And feel free to pull it from wherever you want. The reason why I'm asking this is because I had a conversation with someone random the other day, and they were telling me, oh, dude, I've been seeing all this stuff. Like, tell me about your desert movie. And everyone is asking me, like, well, what is this thing about? You know, I saw it on your story. And then I give them the little synopsis. I give my little elevator pitch, which I think we all have memorized. And then they ask me, like, oh, cool. So is it like, and then they name a movie. And I'm like, I need to have those comps memorized. You know, I know a few that I'm like, it's kind of like this, a little bit like this, a little bit of this. But if you could pick a movie out there that you feel Backyard Desert is either similar in tone to, or you feel is a good comp movie, what would you think it is? And I'll go first so you guys have a second to think about it. But for me, I think a really good comp movie is a movie No Country for Old Men. I'll tell you why. I love that film, and I think it's one of the all-time great films. But I think there's a certain aspect of that movie that there's this stillness, even during like these high action moments. But there's this weird like stillness that happens in the camera, and it creates this tension that I think is so beautiful with the characters. And we've been talking about visual language for Backyard Desert. It's a great movie to compare to because there's so much stillness in Backyard Desert, yet there's so much tension and weight in every single moment. Anybody have any other movies?
I love this combination, and it's only going to make sense in my head, and you know what? That's okay. But between Roma and the Flamin' Hot, the Hot Cheetos movie,
Yeah.
not because they're both brown Spanish characters, but I think it's the mix. I think that the subtleness of Roma and the going into the lives of, you know, the Latin Mexican working class and their inner emotion through expression and a little bit of dialogue. But then you go to Blaming Hot. I'm butchering
Flaming
the
Hot.
Flaming Hot.
Flaming Hot.
And then you see this character build an empire from the ground up just with an idea. And what happens when you allow people to explore those ideas and you give them the platform to succeed?
That's a really good comparison. And I like the combo of the two because you're right. On the surface, Flaming Hot, the Hot Cheetos movie, is not like Backyard Desert. But also, you know, it kind of relates to our main character, our protagonist, Pammy.
Yeah.
And like her journey of once she is given the access to be able to go past her conditioning as a border patrol agent and start to explore what the world can be, you know, changes her life. And it kind of happens to the protagonist in Flaming Hot, the Hot Cheetos movie. So that's a great one. That's actually
I
really
was
good.
actually thinking about a film that you introduced me to, Ethan, Blue Bayou, I think it's called.
My
Um,
favorite movie of all
and
time.
like from the
Yes.
Pammy perspective, I think about the ex-husband, who we think is
Yeah.
like the worst, but then we see like, oh, he's a human, he has a heart, and he's seeing the outcome of his actions and what it really leads to. And then getting not as much in our film, but a glimpse into the life of somebody who is trying to make a better life for themselves.
That's a great choice. And also I think stylistically our movie feels a lot like what that movie is, which is like intimate, I think is a good way to
Very
describe
intimate,
Blue
yeah.
Bayou, you know? There's that one scene in Blue Bayou. If you've never seen that movie, go watch it. It's my favorite movie of all time, but it is fantastic. But there's that one scene where Alicia Vikander and Justin Chan are arguing in the kitchen. And that scene is like just, I mean, there's obviously something that happens in Backyard Desert. I won't spoil it, but there's something similar that happens. And the way that that scene is shot just feels so real. It's such a goal of mine, and I think of all of ours, to make Backyard Desert feel as real as possible. And I think like that movie does that so well. So yeah, really great comp. Mr. Adam Del Valle, do you have a movie that you'd like to compare?
I do. I do. This is a very heavy movie, but I feel like you, especially as the director and someone who adapted the screenplay, I feel like you kind of see what I mean. But I feel like as far as conflict between husband and wife, I feel like feeling like just isolated while in a community, and then also just dealing with the more intense moments in Backyard Desert, some of like the psychological thriller slash horror aspects. I feel like Mother has
Mm,
a energy to it that a lot of my favorite elements of Backyard Desert, I feel like they kind of have in common.
I agree. I think our last conversation we had when we were in LA, when we were talking to like production design and our DP Luke, we started talking about like, damn, this movie's kind of scary. Like Backyard Desert is a ghost story, and it's not really a spoiler in any capacity. And I think like, yeah, you're
Word.
totally right.
I
Like
feel
there's
like
this, yeah, thriller aspect to it.
Yeah.
the scariest bits of Backyard Desert, I feel like are very similar to the things about Mother that strike people's emotions. Even just how they used certain imagery and certain situations and scenarios, and really seeing a character that you empathize for in very like in a type of stress that's so deeply personal. It's a type of energy that I haven't seen in too many movies, but I see that essence in Backyard Desert and done very well in Mother. Again, very
That's
extreme
great.
example though.
That's these are all such good examples, though. We got to add them to our comp list on our pitch deck. They're fantastic, and this is really good. Well, thank you all so much for taking time and joining us for this conversation on CK Cafe. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you once again, everyone, for listening. We really appreciate all of your support for CK Cafe, and the response so far for these first few episodes that we've been dropping since our hiatus has just been absolutely beautiful. So as always, you can support us at CK Productions NY on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and on YouTube as well. You can follow along on Substack if you want to sign up for our newsletter and more updates for things that we have going on. And if you'd like to support the film, please follow at Backyard Desert on social media, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook, wherever you're at. Backyard Desert is there. And if you want to support our film further, whether it's financial support or just support in general, you can visit us online at backyarddesert.com. Thank you so much for watching and listening to CK Cafe. And we hope you go out there, create some stuff. Don't give up. Keep going. You got this.